They have many positives about their party platform. They benefit many things, including investing in new and greener energy, as well as raising taxes on big companies that make way too much profit. Alberta has been much too reliant on oil. The NDP will provide a different economy that will not have so many booms and busts.
The NDP rose to power in Alberta after faith in the Conservative Party, who were in power for a 43-year dynasty, waned. But were they really ready for the responsibility of a whole province? Today we will be examining some of the problems that the NDP government have, such as their plans for the budget, minimum wage, oil industry, and carbon tax.
The Conservatives want to make $1 billion in tax cuts in the healthcare and hospital services. The NDP have a different way to even out the economy. By the NDP taxing the wealthiest 10% more, as well as super profitable companies, they can balance out the budget in a way that won't mean poorer healthcare services.
Statistics Canada data shows that 12% of seniors live in poverty, amounting to almost 600,000 people. Seniors living alone are particularly hard-pressed financially, with more than one in 4 single seniors, most of whom are women living in poverty. 12 million working Canadians do not have workplace pension plans. Canadians are increasingly unable to save sufficiently for their own retirement. The NDP is committed to boosting the Guaranteed Income Supplement, or the GIS, by $400 million annually, a necessary step that will lift seniors out of poverty. Tom McClare of the NDP has said, no one should have to grow old in poverty, insecurity, or isolation. The NDP will ensure that all seniors live with dignity, live with care, and support of all Canadians.
The NDP came into a problem with the school system pretty much since day one. The Conservatives left them with a bit of a problem when they cut 700 teachers, not to mention the 12,000 more new students that came into school in 2015 in September. They wanted to cut school fees as well as after-school program and busing fees. This will save more money for families with their children in school.
In this election, the NDP have put forward a concrete plan to lower carbon pollution. They will work with the world instead of against the planet by introducing hard emission reduction targets and make polluters pay to achieve them. In 1997, the Liberal government of the day committed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to 6% below 1990 levels. But instead of going down, greenhouse gas emissions went up to watch by 83%. In fact, carbon pollution went up each year. Each year the Liberals were in office. In 2009, Stephen Harper made a commitment to reduce greenhouse gases by 17% from 2005 levels. Under his watch, Canada's greenhouse gas emissions rose, not fell, by 4% between 2009 and 2013. Over the next 5 years by 2020, global market demand in the clean tech sector is expected to hit an astonishing $3 trillion. Today, employment in clean tech is growing to a rate of 18% year over year. The opportunities and the potential for Canada are enormous. The NDP have already announced that we will eliminate subsidies to the fossil fuel industry and invest in clean energy instead. Our investments in clean energy will also create jobs, will create a made-in Canada solution and help create the next generation of middle-class jobs.
A survey done by the Lethbridge College Citizen Society Research Lab shows a strong opposition for the carbon tax that you just mentioned. Effective January 1st, well, that's supposed to be taking effect January 1st. The opposition is at 67.2%, and 52.5% of those consider themselves strongly opposed. Farron Ellis, who came to the poll in September, was quoted as saying, "Taxes tend to be more popular before they're implemented." Well, this tax is yet to be implemented and it still doesn't seem very popular. The government says that the $433, or that the average household will pay an additional $433 in direct and indirect costs year one for the carbon tax. If you break that down, it's approximately $37 a month. That might not seem like much, but when Alberta is facing a 7.9% unemployment rate, $37 a month could be the difference between feeding your child.
The NDP borrowed $712 million in between 2016 and 2017, and $3.1 billion the next year to cover expenses. $10.4 billion deficit. That's what's run up, and it eliminated Alberta's 15% debt to GDP ratio. They've denied a financial downgrade twice. Brian Jean, leader of the Wild Rose Party, has said this, and I quote, "What finance minister has ever stood in any place and said, 'Oh no, a financial downgrade won't have any effect'? Like seriously, who says that?" They promised to have a balanced budget by 2017, but won't be able to balance it until 2024. Rachel Notley asked people to contribute money to the party at their swearing-in ceremony just 16 days into her reign. How does that show any confidence with the handling of money?
The Alberta NDP responded to plummeting oil prices by raising corporate taxes, which you talked about, from 10% to 12%. This is one of the highest rates in all of Alberta's history. ConocoPhillips, ExxonMobil, and Shell were at one point three of Alberta's biggest oil investors. In an early 2016 article in Alberta Oil magazine, reps from the companies said that there are 4 reasons they were lessening their investments in Alberta. 1, the corporate tax increase. 2, the environmental legislations. 3, the lack of pipeline to move oil out of Alberta. And 4, political unrest in Alberta. Let me just say that one more time. Political unrest in Alberta, which means the NDP literally killed investments in oil. So, 3 major oil companies now invest more in third world countries than they do in Alberta.
So the NDP will be raising minimum wage to $15 eventually. This will cause an increase of prices of goods and services everywhere to cover the cost. Tim Hortons already at the end of November is going to be raising their prices. There's going to be mass layoffs or hours being cut to cover the cost as well. The liquor serving industry is going to get hurt the most because they are removing a liquor server rate, which was a lower rate, but then the employees would be covered through tips. Alberta is the lowest amount of people who earn minimum wage in Canada, which is roughly 11% of the total workers in Alberta. The lower income earners end up paying more taxes and won't benefit as much from the minimum wage increase. They're better off with tax changes. It also hurts small businesses who have a lot of trouble making the capital to cover the increase in wage.
Then 1 minute preparation.
That's right. Starts when your hand's up. Steph.
All right. So, Angus Reid poll from earlier this year showed that Premier Notley and her NDPs only had a 32% approval rating with Albertans. Alberta voted for a change. We didn't vote for them to ruin our province.
Okay, however, the Conservatives, before they were out of office, the economy was already crashing, like heavily, as you all know, because of oil. See, Alberta had way too much investments in oil, leading to a boom and bust economy. What the NDP want to do is invest in newer and greener energy and technology, so the economy won't have a huge up and down line. It'll be more consistent and more balanced. Although it will take time, in the long run, it will be the healthier decision for Alberta.
You can't fight debt with more debt. Like, we're just going to dig the hole deeper.
And right now, according to Statistics Canada, Alberta posted its highest level of unemployment since 1994, with Calgary having a percentage of 8.6, Edmonton having a percentage of 7.7, and the province having a 7.9% overall. We are now only 0.3% lower than Nova Scotia's 8.2% unemployment, and they're always considered a have-not province. So where does that leave us?
Right now, Alberta is going through lots of struggles, but with the minimum wage increase, it could also lead to more money being put into the economy, because people that are earning minimum wage will be earning more money, therefore they'll want to, they'll have more money to spend, which could raise Alberta's economy in the long run.
But you have to raise prices to account for that. Companies have to raise their prices to pay people more. So in the end, nobody's making more money, they're just paying more for things that they originally paid a little bit less for.
Yes, but in other studies, if minimum wage has risen, say it goes from $10 to $11, that doesn't necessarily mean that every single thing is gonna rise 8%. In many other studies in minimum wage increases, such as the United States and in other provinces, the prices of goods they've still risen, but they haven't risen as much compared to what the minimum wage has risen by.
Yeah.
In regards to schools, on March 16th, Mountley said that school boards have to eliminate student fees, but they will be on their own to cover the lost revenue the next year. So are they really helping schools in the long run?
I think they are, because they're gonna be saving families more money, which is probably a very good idea, since many families are hurting in this economy. It will also, because what the Conservatives did is they laid off 700 teachers, and then there's 12,000 more new students the next school year. So, lots of new families that are in the province, it'll be better for them because they'll be saving more money in the long run.
On another point, according to a 2016 Edmonton Journal post, in the past 12 years, the Ontario government was the most reckless spenders. In 2010, the year of Ontario's largest deficit, the government had an average deficit of $1,500 per person. In the NDP's 17 months in power, they've plunged Alberta's debt to $2,600 per person. That's 73% more than Ontario at its highest deficit. So, in 2015, Ontario was officially declared to be in debt crisis and economic recession, but now we have 73% higher debt per person in Alberta, so what are we? I was going to say, in one of your points, you talked about how the corporate taxes were raised from 10 to 12%, and that was going to be a good thing to make the corporations pay more. But at the end of the day, what they do is nothing.
1 minute break.
Well, our closing statement is maybe that, well, the NDP, sure, it has had its share of failures, but when you think about it, so has any other political party. Everybody has their faults, and they all have things that they need to improve on. But if we just focus on that, then we're not gonna get anywhere, because we're just gonna look at every single political party and think, oh, this one has this wrong with it, this one has this wrong with it. And instead, we should be turning towards what good that they can do. So that being said, the NDP does have some good about it. And maybe we should just wake up and understand what good there is to do.
Well, at her provincial address, October 19th in Calgary, Premier Notley referred to the NDP as the Do Something Party, the fundamental reformers, the change agents, the people who believe that if we act together, things will get better. Well, on some accounts, she was right. They are a Do Something Party. That's something? Plunging Alberta into a state of financial disaster. Fundamental reformers? True again, reforming our once AAA credit rating to a far less desirable AA. Change agents? You bet. Changing a once flourishing, prospering Alberta into a debt-laden, disastrous province in the midst of a recession. But we are in this together, and together, thanks to the NDP, we should all be terrified for our
We get like